Hey, this is Nick with Ultimate Motorcycling, and we just wrapped up 2 days of riding the brand new 2018 Kawasaki Ninja 400 out here in Sonoma County, California. Now, as you know, this is wine country. Lots of amazing roads, back roads that just motorcyclists are gonna eat up, but more importantly, Sonoma Raceway. So we got to ride the 2018 Kawasaki Ninja 400, so we're gonna get into this first ride review, and I hope you guys stick around. So first thing first, this is a complete revision of the lower displacement Ninjas. This is now going to be replacing the Ninja 300 in the United States, and every single component here has either been revised, updated, increased in size, lightened, just from the ground up. This is a stronger package all around. The big story here obviously is the increase in displacement, going from a 300 to a 400cc. That engine has not increased in mass and size, it's actually stayed pretty much about the same size as the 300, so the width and the chassis and stuff like that is relatively similar. But the power is now completely adequate for someone of my size, beginner riders, advanced riders. You can really just explore the entire rev range from nice and down low, maybe 1500 RPM, and it's just, you know, pulls up, spools all the way through easily. And you can also rev the thing out pretty much all the way to the rev line, and you're gonna have a blast. You know, it's just very smooth, very tractable, incredibly predictable, and that's something that beginner riders are really gonna be able to appreciate, as well as advanced riders, because when we got out on track today, we were able to go out there and sling this bike around and have a lot of fun being able to use that power just the way we like. And on the street, it was the same story. When we were out in the canyons or in traffic and stuff like that, we were able to use the entire rev range and get out there and get a lot out of this machine. So I think this is an aspect of the new Ninja 400 that a lot of people are going to enjoy. And even more so, I think it's going to do quite well in the new lightweight series in Moto America. Another big improvement that Kawasaki's added to the Ninja 400 is the suspension. We've now gone to a 41mm Showa fork, non-adjustable, and we've also gone to a KYB shock with preload adjustment. That's increased lateral stiffness and made the bike a little bit more predictable on the edge of the tire. And I actually should quantify that and say that when we're on the track, hitting those corners, the thing is completely stable, a lot more so than the 300. So that's something that Kawasaki's really improved upon. The stiffness in the fork is also something that we noticed a lot too. You know, it doesn't dive as badly. There's still some dive if you take it a little bit too hot, but overall you're gonna be pretty happy. And it's pretty much the same for the rear as well. Hitting bumps, stuff like that, there's not a whole lot of energy that's transferred into the rider. So is the suspension an upgrade above the 300? Yeah, I would definitely say so. I'd also like to see adjustability come into the fork and more adjustability coming to the shock in the future. But as of now, this is a price point oriented bike, so I fully understand why Kawasaki has to stick with non-adjustable suspension. That said, they've done a pretty good job. Something that they've done as a weight savings measure is to go to an engine mounted swing arm. So that removes any sort of bracing that would come off the frame and stuff like that, saving a few pounds there. That's also something that we're seeing in some other Kawasaki models in the lower displacement divisions, and that's great to see that technology trickle down. Speaking of the chassis, we have to talk about the fact that the numbers here are pretty aggressive, you know, more in line with what you'd see with a larger displacement sport machine. The wheelbase has shortened up over an inch, if I remember correctly. Now it's something around 53.9 inches. And the rake has also steepened from 27 degrees, and now it's something around 24.7, I believe. Either way, those are huge reductions in wheelbase as well as a steeper rake. The Ninja 300 was actually a very agile and kind of fun-loving bike. But this thing, it takes all of those positive attributes from 300 and directly ports them into the Ninja 400. So now you have a bike that's extremely agile, very compliant, and still retains a high level of stability. You didn't need any real input to get the bike to turn. Just a bit of subtle suggestions, and the thing's tipping in beautifully. And that's something that, you know, novice riders are really going to enjoy. This bike is a perfect package to actually develop those skills and get out there and just have fun on a motorcycle. Now, advanced riders are really going to be able to take advantage of that. You know, between its weight decrease, we're seeing something like 17 pounds, and that's overall the chassis, the engine, Other components have been lightened. They've also decreased the fuel tank size from 4.5 gallons to 3.7. So we're seeing a little bit less fuel, but similar fuel economy. So you're still going to get plus 100 miles. You know, between its weight savings, the changes in geometry and things like that, this bike is just incredibly agile, handles really well, and it doesn't take any effort to ride. When we came to the track today, that was something that was already pronounced on the street. That's something that I immediately noticed. But when we got out on track and we're actually pushing it, having a lot of fun, it's something that I really enjoyed because Sonoma Raceway is a pretty big track and it has a lot of history. You know, charging into those corners, held its line perfectly, and if you needed to correct your line or get on the gas, it was totally stable. They've gone up to the GPR 300 Dunlop series tire. And the tires, despite the fact that they're not a race compound, we were definitely having a load of fun on Sonoma Raceway. There's a lot of edge grip, good feel, and Sonoma does have a couple little bumpy spots, and over those areas I did get a little bit too ambitious. Some may say that my ambition outweighed my talent during those moments, but they held their ground and did well. So for the novice rider, as well as more advanced track riders, it's going to be okay. You just have to understand that no, these are not race compound tires. They're not going to offer the same amount of grip. But for the street, for someone that's getting into track riding, they're going to be perfectly adequate. Another upgrade that I really love on this bike is the braking components. We've gone to a 310 rotor up front, and over the 300, that is a marked improvement. That's something that I noticed pulling out of the parking lot. And even on track, they're still completely adequate. Again, for the speed deltas that you're hitting, you're not hitting 150 miles an hour. So on the street, the single rotor is completely adequate. And there's actually a lot of feel too, because this track does require a good bit of trail braking, and there's still good feel at the lever, and advanced riders will still find the hardware more than usable. So that's something that we should really talk about. But should you want an improvement, you could jump to a steel braided brake line, high performance brake pad, and go to a high performance brake fluid, and that will get you a little bit more out of it. They did do a nice job in bumping up the performance of the brakes, so that's something that we have to give props to Kawasaki on that one. The styling, especially in the KRT scheme, it's something that I appreciate, and I feel like if you're getting into motorcycling for the first time, you want something that's engaging. You don't want kind of the run-of-the-mill stereotypical little bike. You want it to look like an actual motorcycle. So it has ties to the ZX series. It has ties to the H2 with the undernose spoiler, and then the KRT colors. This is just personal opinion speaking, but I've always been pretty partial to Johnny Ray's bike. So hey, if I can get something pretty close, we're gonna call it good. Now, they've also updated the wheels here, and they've gone to a 5-spoke. One, they're just far more attractive in my opinion, but they're also a bit lighter. So in combination with that, it's made the package stronger. So when it comes to ergonomics, these lower displacement machines really need to be accessible to a wider range of people. So they've actually brought back the handlebars just a hair, and they've also brought back the rear sets just a hair. Now, that doesn't seem like that would be a big change. However, what it does is it makes you sit slightly more upright while your feet sit a little bit more back. So it's slightly more sportier where your legs are and a little bit more relaxed up front. However, you can still move around completely. I mean, the tank, this is something that Kawasaki's done really well in my opinion on the Z650, pretty much all of the lower displacement Ninjas. It's just a quality that I see in Kawasaki a lot and I appreciate, where it's this sculpted tank along with this lip. So whether you're an advanced rider or beginner rider, this is something that you can use as a really solid anchor, and it's going to allow you to drag that bike down with you in turns. And that's something that we really made use of here at Sonoma. There's a lot of big sweeping turns, late apexes, stuff like that, so you can just really crank this bike over and use that aspect of the tank, and it's great. But ergonomically, I'm 5'10", I have a 32-inch inseam. Now, the 30.9-inch seat height does give me just a hair knee bend, and it's not something that I can really complain about. It's definitely there, I'm aware of it, so maybe if I rode 500 miles in a day, I'd be hurting a little bit, but I'd probably just be hurting from riding 500 miles. That said, we did about 100 and something and change yesterday in the canyons, and we did a full track day, and I'm feeling pretty good. One thing I would like to see just kind of carry down is just adjustable rear sets so people can customize their ergonomics, and say a taller rider, it's maybe 6'1", 6'2", they're gonna be okay. But shorter riders, they should be taken care of as well, because you have a narrow chassis and people are gonna be able to plant their feet at stoplights and stuff like that. So overall, they've done a really good job. So we're gonna wrap it up here at Sonoma Raceway. I had an absolute blast on this thing at the track. I mean, this little bike handles amazing. It requires almost no input to get going. Definitely less is more type of machine. Push it into a corner, trail brake, do whatever you want. Whether you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, you're gonna have a blast on this thing. And with the bump up and displacement, the power is gonna keep you satiated for a long time. That was one of the big complaints with the 300s, is that people felt that they've outgrown the performance of it when they haven't built up their skill set. I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue here. So is this a marked improvement over the 300? Yes, in pretty much every possible way that I can think of, it is. And the best news, the base price has been kept the same. So we're talking $4,999. ABS is gonna cost you an extra $300, and the KRT package that you see before you, a couple hundred on top of that. And this model only comes in ABS. But overall, Kawasaki's done a really fine job with this entry-level bike, and I guarantee you it's gonna be one of the bikes pushing in a new generation. So this is Nick with Ultimate Motorcycling. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them down below, and take care.